discuss the new PRX 900 series. My name is Esmeralda Gonzalez of Harman Pro Global Marketing, and I am joined today by Craig and Brandon of JBL Product Line Management, who will present this training. This call is being recorded and will be sent out tomorrow via email. Also, just wanted to note that everyone's muted to keep down noise levels, but we will have time to answer questions at the end. Please enter your questions into the Q&A or the chat. And now I'll turn it over to Craig to introduce today's training. Craig?
Yeah, can you hear me? I just want to make sure before we get going.
Yep, all sounds good.
Okay, great. Once again, I just want to welcome everyone and really, obviously, introduce myself again. I'm Craig Lambrecht, Director of PPA at JBL Professional. This really, to me, is kind of one of the most exciting times in really JBL PPA history as we look back, in the last 18 months or so of what we've launched. We've come out with four MPIs and actually a completely new app platform. And in doing so, we've really kind of completely flipped our product portfolio over the course of a year and a half for all of our powered speaker lines, both point and shoot as well as our column speaker side, which is really no small feat. And I've been with JBL. I mean, I've been with Harman now for almost 10 years, and I can tell you, like, just the amount of product and the level of the product that we've done is really unmatched to anything that I've seen in the last 10 years for the PPA portfolio for JBL. And before we kind of jump into just a quick intro on the PRX 900 and also passing it over to Brandon, I do want to thank all of you for all of your support, in the field. None of this happens without a complete team. That includes, the teams behind the product on the Harman side, as well as everyone out in the field and the sales side. So it really does take a village to have, we can have the most successful product in the world, but it really takes successful people out in the field to make that become a reality. So thank you to all of you. And then as we talk just real quick and just a quick introduction on PRX 900 itself, the conversation on PRX 900 started probably about 5 years ago. And we really started looking at this product on, how can we really design this product from the ground up, because, we were a market leader in this space when you go back to like PRX 600, maybe even moving into 700 a little bit. And, this was our opportunity to kind of put our flag back in the ground in this space for point and shoot boxes. And really, by doing so, we looked at this from the ground up and really wanted this to be an innovation story. Really looking at, this product as an innovative product, something that was going to be the benchmark in this space. So when we did that, we had the opportunity to really look at every level of the product from the top, from the bottom up, and whether that be the advanced acoustics, the DSP mixer package that you'll hear about today, the industrial design side with the 7-year warranty, which is not just about having a warranty, but really about having quality components and a good design, to support that warranty as well. So really, those were the key pillars that we looked at in making sure that this product was going to be a hit when it made it to the market. So without taking any more wind out of the core of what Brandon's going to talk about here today, I'd like to pass it over to Brandon. And again, welcome to the call, and just to express how excited we are to have this product coming out in the next few weeks.
Thanks, Craig. As Craig said, my name is Brandon Knutson, and really I'm excited to welcome you guys here to culminate, to Craig's point, what has been just a banner last 3 years for JBL loudspeaker, and not just on a portable PA side. So much has gone into designing, refining, and updating all of our loudspeakers, all the way from the tour side down. So it's just really been a banner year for JBL, something that I couldn't be prouder of for our, not just our internal team of GPLM, YC, and Scott, but our whole engineering team, our sales teams, our marketing teams. Everybody's done such a great job on all of these launches, rep teams, everybody on this call. So I just want to express before we jump into this, some gratitude to all of you. It's hard enough to handle one product launch in a year, and everybody here has handled it seamlessly as we've launched, 6, 7, 8 products, over the last 3 years. It's just been a banner year, banner time for JBL. And I'm so thrilled to not only be a part of it, but have you guys all on this journey with us. So as we begin to talk about PRX 900 today, this will go live on October 25th, so just a few short weeks away. And to Craig's point, this really has been in design for about 5 years. As we built PRX 700 and PRX 800, we didn't see as much of a need to do work to those products, so there was a lot of carryover in design. And in that phase, we really had to look at PRX 900 to say, what features do we need to include in this product to get it back to a leading space? What's most important to our customers, and really drive toward having a product that outclasses all of the competition in the space to really give the best offering possible. So as we talk about that, let's just look at our SKU overview. So really the most important thing to note here is that we are introducing an incremental SKU in the 908. This will be an 8-inch full range model. We are directly replacing the 12 and 15-inch full range models from the 800 series. We are also directly replacing the 2 subwoofer SKUs, the 915 15-inch subwoofer and the 18-inch subwoofer. It's important to note in the short term, the PRX 825 and 835 will continue to be made. They will not be discontinued at this time, nor will they be integrated into the PRX 900 platform just yet. Those SKUs aren't component challenged. We're able to make them. So at this point in time, we haven't put it into the plan to update them. But that's not to say that we won't. It's probably a low effort endeavor, just one that we haven't gone down yet. So here you can see some of those looks. It's important to note that the PRX 800 series has been end of life. We did a last time buy on it. So any open orders or anything like that should be converted to the PRX 900 series. But there's a ton of benefit that customers are going to get as they move into the PRX 900 series. So without further ado, let's talk about some of those benefits. First and foremost, let's talk about our target customers. These are really one of the first and primary customers is semi-pro to fully professional DJs and bands. And when I say semi-pro to fully professional, I mean the customers using these speakers are using them to generate revenue and sustain their livelihood. They are not often not hobbyists. They're very much so making money on their profession here. So that's what drives them into the professional category. With that said, these folks who are using these to generate revenue need to be able to rely upon them. They have to be able to rely that these are going to work time in and time out, and really be able to justify that expenditure. So that's where a lot of the focus on our feature set comes in. In addition to this, you'll find relevancy with bars, nightclubs, and mid to large size venues who may not have a tour size budget, but still need powerful sound reinforcement to cover their setting, right? And in addition, you'll also find relevance with corporate, education, government, anywhere that powerful sound is needed, and a budget might be a challenge, right? We know that our tour stuff performs as good as it possibly can, but sometimes it's not in the budget. And so really we want to focus on having these PRX 900 speakers fall as really the flagship of portable PA, of what's possible in the portable PA space. So as we talked, Craig mentioned these have been in design for 5 years. And really the key selling point here is how much research and development has gone into modernizing this platform, and really the design aspect, because this was a ground up design. We changed the cabinets, we changed the woofer, we changed the horn, we changed the electronics package, we changed the DSP. So there's everything with the exception of really that high frequency compression driver has been changed here. And with, as with any JBL product, the very first place we always start is on the acoustic package. It's really what we see as the most important thing. Power packing all these features into a product that does not sound good is a lost effort. So we really want to make sure that our acoustics are top notch. Again, this is a ground up acoustic design. We have one carryover element and the rest is all pretty much new. So we'll talk specifically about what that means here in a minute. From a DSP perspective, I/O and control, we wanted to make sure that our DSP really, cleared the bar of what people would desire in this space. And then from a control perspective, we know that on PRX 800, our Wi-Fi control was a little bit clunky, little hard to use. So we've really streamed that and moved into the JBL Pro Connect ecosystem. If you're not familiar with Pro Connect, we will talk about that a little bit here. But Pro Connect is a BLE or Bluetooth Low Energy control system that really allows seamless control of all of these speakers. And from a durability perspective, Craig mentioned our 7-year warranty, but in addition to that, we've really taken some very purposeful design elements to make sure that we increase that durability. And we couple that with our industry-leading test and validation protocol, and that gives us the confidence to be able to say these are going to hold up for 7 years. So talking about our acoustics package, these are next generation woofer designs on all of these speakers. We have carried over ferrite magnet, but we've really improved the overall performance of these woofers so that we can reduce our power compression in our low frequency. We also don't need to use a heavy-handed DSP approach because we're allowing the woofers to do the work. It's really a powerful woofer package. In addition to that, we've redesigned the horn. One thing that PRX900 had challenges with is maintaining solid high and predictable high frequency response as you began to turn up your volume. The horn design would allow some peaks and some valleys to kind of shine through on PRX900, which maybe made it for a less than stellar experience at high volumes. So we've improved our horn design, which is going to give us great on-axis frequency response, but it really smooths out the response as you begin to move off axis and as you begin to turn up the speakers to max volume. It's important to note this is a 2408H-2 compression driver. These compression drivers are polyannular diaphragms with neodymium magnets, and they really do give us very clean, very accurate response at high volumes, but also at max volume. We really have reduced our power compression overall. Talking about some other acoustic designs here, you can see a little bit of a zoom in on the horn design and some of the contours. Very similar technology that we've kind of put into things like our M2 studio monitors and things like that. So a lot of the technology has been kind of scaled down into some of these products. These are FEA or finite element analysis flared port designs. That's really just a fancy way to say that we've designed our ports to be most efficient at reducing air noise from the cabinet and distortion. Those are both things that are not ideal in an experience and can be very much heard. So we wanted to make sure that we took some time to reduce that to as low a level as possible. And again, you can see that patented technical waveguide there on the horn. It really does provide us with great beam width and directivity. So as we talk about the acoustics, it's not just the transducers that are important, it's also the electronics package. Obviously, if you don't update your electronics package, you're only going to get so much out on the back end. So really the first thing that we did here, we upped our power rating. This is a 2000 watt peak power amp, and it does have a universal power factor correction power supply. So basically what that means is you can use these in any voltage. We've tested all the way down to 82 volts and as high as 256. So we're very confident that these will perform in any voltage. We bridged our woofer amp, so that helps us keep some spikes out of the system, really lowers our crosstalk harmonics. And a lot of these changes that we've made have been in the interest of reducing the overall system noise and improving the audio experience. That's the next bullets that we're going to talk here. So these do have high quality, high linearity inductors. Really all that does for us is it lowers our overall total harmonic distortion, or THD, and it provides us the ability to get a higher power efficiency. We lose less as the power transfers throughout the electronics package. We've also upgraded our DACs and ADCs, or our digital audio and digital analog conversion methods. And this really does give us a near lossless audio conversion experience from input to output. In regards to our total harmonic distortion rating, this is actually less than 32 dB of system noise. It's roughly 9 dB lower than PRX900 and probably about 7 to 8 dB lower than the competitors in the space. These are very, very quiet boxes when they are at a rest. A lot of people in the past have complained, both on a competitive perspective, about system noise, or what's commonly referred to as hiss, right? At about 1 meter, these speakers are silent. You can really just not really hear anything from the systems at all. It's a really impressive design that our engineering teams put together here. Continuing on the electronics package, these speakers also have a very high CMRR, or common mode rejection ratio, And a higher CMRR actually takes unbalanced signal coming into the input stage and it tosses it out before it gets to the output stage. So you can remove unwanted system noise, ground hum, and things like that before it even gets to the output stage. We've also got some really low noise gain staging on these products. One issue that PRX900 was plagued with was as you began to use the microphone preamps, they would roll off your high frequency and your low frequency, but they would also add noise to the system because they were somewhat noisier preamps. So we've really reduced the overall noise that you're going to get. Now, while these are not necessarily designed to be used with a microphone, they certainly will support microphone usage, and you won't have a system that is loud and intrusive as you are using those microphones. So really a key focus there for us. And last but certainly not least, these are very low latency systems. They're just shy of 1 millisecond of latency from input to output. And our PRX900 systems, while good at the time, they're roughly about 6 milliseconds. So we've improved that by a factor of 6, just a really strong low latency system. And that is fully burdened, if you will, through your entire DSP package. So just a really great latency on that side of things. From an acoustics package for the subwoofer, our 915 has a 3-inch voice coil. Our 918 has a 4-inch voice coil. These are new voice coil designs, and they really do give us great low frequency extension. These subwoofers have that nice oomph that hits you in the chest every time you hear them, including the 15. It's a small little subwoofer, but man, does it have a lot of power packed into it. These are 18 millimeter birch cabinets. It's important to note they're 15 ply, but the ply count is not as important as the depth or the thickness of the overall cabinet. That's really where you're going to get your benefit. And we have updated and optimized our internal bracing to make sure that these wood cabinets have less flex and really push as much air as possible. Last but certainly not least, both of our subwoofers are going to come in with our patented Harman Duraflex painting. If you're unfamiliar with our Duraflex painting, it's really similar to like a pickup truck's spray-in liner. Very durable, very easy to maintain over time, and so it really increases the aesthetics, the way that the speakers look, and maintains that over time. So as we move forward and talk about our DSP, really we know DSP is becoming very important in this world. Customers want DSP on their speakers, ready to go, ready to use. We've included a 12-band PEQ or parametric EQ on our output fader. Gives people the ability to tune their overall system. They may not like our overall tuning, or maybe they want a little bit more low frequency extension. So they have a 12-band parametric EQ that they can do that with. It's important to note that all of our DSP, this is a very big change from PRX900, but all of our DSP can be accessed from that onboard LCD. There's no need to use the app if you do not want to. Whereas on PRX900, if you wanted to use DSP, you had to use the app. The app was tough to use, and therefore we made using the DSP built into the speaker a challenge. So we really simplified that, made it easy. If you don't want to use the application to control your DSP, you do not have to. It's almost all accessible via that onboard LCD and menu system. In addition to that, we have included some dry rack technology here. These are 24 live or fixed filters with the Q of 16, so very, very tight notch filters. The AFS on this system will enact a little bit quicker than our previous products. It's a little bit of a better algorithm and a little bit of a higher processing chip, so it will enact a bit quicker. These do have system limiters, and then a feature that really sets these speakers apart. Nobody else in this space has them, and it's an incredibly relevant feature that in some spaces can cost over $500 or more. These speakers have up to 180 milliseconds of speaker delay in 100 microsecond intervals for really precise time alignment of systems. So, that's a feature that in itself is going to cost users $500. And we're able to actually include it in these speakers. So really powerful. From an I/O perspective, you can see we got a very versatile mixer panel. These do have 2 XLR ins with 2 loop throughs and a 1/8 inch or 3.5 millimeter aux input on channel 3. The 2 XLR inputs have direct loop throughs. Those are mechanically wired loop throughs, so they're just direct pull right off. And in addition, we have a mix out that sums all 3 channels. It's important to note that a lot of the pass-through functionality and bass management is on that mix out. So the ability to delay what goes out of the mix out, you can only do that on the mix out, but don't have, have no fear. You can also delay the input of speakers. So how you use your speaker delay, there's a lot of ways for users to get there. We talked about our low noise, low distortion input gain, and you can see there the full color LCD for easy DSP access. If any of you have any of the other JBL Pro Connect enabled products like Eon 1 Mark II or Eon 700 or PRX1, you've seen this LCD in action. It is the same LCD. It is the same UI, UX. It's the same workflow. So any of our customers who have used any of our newer speakers will not be surprised by anything. They'll function exactly how they expect them to. Incentivizes people to help grow with JBL and stick with JBL over their speaker career, if you will. These speakers also have a G sensor or a gyro sensor, which will automatically detect the position of the speaker. In the top right-hand corner of the LCD, you can see an MON icon. That icon will actually change color when you are in monitor mode, indicating that the tuning has been optimized for the speaker to be laying horizontally, right? Have no fear. If users want to, they can override that feature in the LCD. So they don't have to be married to whatever tuning optimization we give them. But if users do want to just twist the speaker over and use it in monitor mode, it will automatically optimize the tuning and they'll be able to just get up and running really quick. So talking about the last part of our class-leading DSP I/O and control is really going to talk about the JBL Pro Connect app. JBL Pro Connect, this will be the last new product integrated into JBL Pro Connect. It's been a bit of a sprint here on this, and we've really got the app refined to a point where it's performing very well. But you can simultaneously control up to 10 speakers using JBL Pro Connect, and you can use those across product lines. So if you want to use some PRX900s as your mains and maybe some Eon 700s as your monitors, and you want to use them all in one app, you can do that. We've also pushed out some optimized system presets for PRX900. So if you're using a 912 with a 918 XLF, you can select those presets and it'll actually optimize that performance based on some of our testing and validation. Some of the DSP that we think is going to work best with those speakers in that situation. So if users are using our speakers together, we take the guesswork out of how to make them sound the best. They just need to select the presets and they're off and running. From a durability perspective, the first place we stopped was the cabinets. These are polypropylene and talcum composite cabinets. What we've actually figured out is if you mix a little bit of talcum with polypropylene, it increases not only the rigidity, but the overall durability, right? The rigidity is very important because that helps reduce the flex of the plastic. It gets us a much better acoustic performance out of a plastic box. So really that was the first place we stopped, was let's make sure our material is the best we can. In addition to that, we ran these entire cabinets through FEA analysis, just like we did on those ports that we talked about earlier, and found where there may be weak spots in our overall cabinet design. And then we reinforced that with internal ribbing. So really just making sure that our structural integrity is as best as it possibly can be. Certainly last but not least, on a durability perspective, we have some NTC thermistors included on these products that will actually protect our transducers. So if you may be approaching a thermal limit, maybe you've just been hitting the limiter for 2 straight hours, these speakers will actually turn down or derate the amplifier so that you don't damage your transducers. We have multiple stages of measurement of temperature to make sure that these boxes are performing how they need to be. But if you ever approach some sort of thermal wall, these speakers will turn down to preserve both your amplifier, your internal components, and your transducers. Very nice protective feature. As opposed to allowing transducers to overheat and blow. We really have taken some measures to protect them in real time. And of course, we talked about this, but our testing and validation is really industry leading. It's something that we go above and beyond on all of these products. We talked about our 100-hour stress test before, and that's really just finding whatever our max specification is on some of these products, and then we will hit them at that max specification for 100 straight hours to try to deliberately break them. We know that if we can break these in testing and validation, we can put preventative measures in place to break them in the field. And so we really want to make sure that we take every step we can to proverbially blow these components up so that we know maybe we're under speccing or maybe we need to put protective things in place. So really making sure that when these get out into the wild, they perform to beyond expectation, and those customers who are using these to generate their revenue can really trust that they're going to last. And it's not just on this power test or this stress test side. We really do have industry leading testing in drop, aging power, thermal, EMC, you name it. We really do have industry leading testing and validation. And that's why we're able to offer an industry best 7-year warranty. Some other notable features on the PRX900. These do have 36 millimeter dual angle pole cut mounts. You can see there on the bottom. They also have 6 M10 suspension points to allow them to be flown or rigged. And last but certainly not least, while all of the full range models have top handles, the rest of the models also have a side handle, the 12 and the 15 full range, and then the subwoofers have 2 side handles. You can also find on the bottom of these speakers, there's a concealed little compartment that can be used as a third handle if needed. Obviously, we only have 2 arms, so 3 handles can get cumbersome, but there are multiple ways for you to be able to lift these speakers in an effective fashion. So before we do a high-level recap, you guys may notice that I haven't really talked about specs, right? And mainly because all these projects that we've done, our goal has always been to just outspec our competitors and outclass them in our performance. So you can rest assured that we have most certainly done that here. But really the focus of these products, the big differentiators and selling points are how much R&D we've put into these. They really do have the ability as a company like Harman to be able to devote a lot of resources to R&D where our competitors may not. That's not just on the acoustic side. The ability to push out speaker delay into these speakers, the ability to push out AFS or automatic feedback suppression. A lot of this is all the R&D process that goes into it. And lastly, it may seem light, but the ability to control multiple product lines at a time in an application while those product lines are serving up different feature sets is really a Herculean effort from our software team. So, it's been a full force, a full court press, if you will, for the sports or basketball fans on the R&D side to make sure that these speakers are the best they possibly can be. Of course, we started with our acoustics, but really that helped us get the best performance and coverage we can out of these speakers. We wanted to make sure that users understood there's flexible configurations. They can use them how they see fit. We wanted to make sure that this mixer panel was really professional grade and able to be versatile and scalable, right? And of course, we talked about our app control and we've talked at length now about these products being just built to last. So one thing I want to talk about before I get into a quick competitive matrix is how these look overall, comparatively speaking, right? We've done a lot of work on all of our speakers over the last 2 years, and really a lot of that work was done to differentiate and clearly delineate between all these speakers where our differences are. So you can see we now have our IRX, our Eon 700, PRX 900, and SRX 800. One thing you'll notice that's missing here is our SRX 900 series. It's important to note that we really do see the future of SRX as kind of our entry level tour product, right? Our entry to the tour grade side. So as that happens, as that transition happens, PRX 900 really will become the flagship of the portable PA space. And as you upgrade into that flagship, you can begin to see some of the changes that you get. It's a more effective compression driver. It's a bigger power amp, full color LCD as opposed to no display or a limited display, powerful BLE control, the ability to control all of these in Pro Connect, and then just overall raw performance aspects. You can see that our 8-inch box is actually outperforming our 15-inch Eon 700 box from a max SPL perspective, and getting really pretty close to that from a frequency response, low end perspective. So really, as you move up the line, you're getting acoustic performance, you're getting much more DSP and functionality, and you're just getting an overall more durable, more effective box that's really going to last the test of time. So we talked about our competitors, and really our goal in this is to outclass what our competitors are capable of doing, and we most certainly have done that here. You can see that all of our boxes from a specification standpoint do exceed performance over our competitors. And one thing to note here that you may be questioning is on an SPL perspective. So one of the fundamental differences that we've done from a testing perspective is actually to begin testing SPL in a more real world application standpoint. So a lot of our competitors will test SPL in a peak frequency or just a select frequency achievement. So maybe their speaker can push out 132 dB at 6 kilohertz, right? And so they'll say, that's our specification. We're not doing that anymore. We're really providing a measurement at a half circle measurement at 2 pi, or a 2 meter half sphere, if you will. A lot of these competitors are measuring at 1 meter or even less. And what I know is that nobody listens to a 128 or 132 dB speaker at 1 meter unless they would like to lose their hearing. So we really began to measure at 2 meters. That's a more ample listening area where these speakers are going to be used. But really the main focus here is that these are actual real world measurements. They're not mathematical equations. They're not isolated frequency measurements. They're not at 1 meter. They're real world measurements where your customers can put stock into that performance. And so across the line, you can just see how we outclass our competitors, and being at price parity as well with those competitors. We're just providing a much more defined experience overall. So some key changes between the products. Remember, PRX900 were all wood boxes, both full range and subwoofer. Our full range have moved to our composite boxes, and our subs still remain in our birch cabinets. PRX900 had Wi-Fi control. We talked about that being a little bit hard to use. We've moved to a much simpler, much easier BLE control mechanism. We've got a 500 watt power amp difference here from a peak perspective that gives us about 50% more usable headroom. And when I say usable, I mean we've significantly reduced our overall power compression. So you can actually turn in a demo, if you wanted to demo these two products next to each other, you could actually set your PRX900 up. You could full pin that PRX900 and then set your PRX900 up, and you're still going to have over 12 dB of gain headroom to be able to turn that up. It's really impressive, and it's a very easy demo to show and highlight where these products exceed over their predecessor. PRX900 was displayless, had no display. PRX900 has that full color display we talked about. The PRX800 horn was actually a carryover design from PRX700. This is a brand new horn that provides us with that off-axis beam and beam width response that we were talking about. PRX800 is a louder system. We've really reduced our system noise down to a whisper, really, is how quiet the system noise is. PRX800 has a variable speed fan. PRX900 is a natural convection design, so we do not have a fan. It cools itself using the acoustic air pull and some other mechanisms to disperse heat. Very low signal latency, as we talked about. A much more robust mixer panel with a lot more functionality. There were no actual loop throughs on PRX800, so we've added some loop throughs. We moved away from RCA, which is a connection that people still use, but it is a bit antiquated. So we've moved into a more modern 3.5 jack that people can use, as well as having that pass-through mix-out functionality there as well. And on that note, PRX800 had no mix-out control. It was just a straight mix-out. PRX900 has speaker delay, bass management, and more. And then PRX800, last but not least, had no signal detection or metering. And PRX900 uses SSM, or our simple success metering, that you may be familiar with across all of the other JBL Pro Connect enabled products that we've released. And on that note, talking about JBL Pro Connect, again, this app is the future for our portable PA products. Not only can you use all these products together, but this is our way to modernize these products, keep them healthy over time, continue to push out new features. And with that, we will do that on PRX900 as well. Upon launching PRX900, users can download a firmware update from the cloud that will give them access to a system lockout feature. So they will actually be able to dial in their system and then lock the system from any hardware adjustments beyond that. So really nice feature for bars and clubs where they may not want people to touch the systems. And we all know that a little bit of alcohol makes hands much more prying in regards to turning knobs and pressing buttons. So again, you can use up to 10 speakers on these, in conjunction, set up nice whole systems. You can save and recall presets. It's a very powerful application. As we continue to talk about it, you can access some other app-only features like speaker grouping. You can see in this picture here, there's a red info button. These new feature that we're pushing out with this next app update will be firmware compatibility. These speakers will actually tap back in and check if your speaker has the latest version of firmware. And if it doesn't, it'll give you an indication telling you hey, you need to update your firmware. And last but certainly not least, you can actually change the names of the speakers to help you be able to easily identify them. It will change that on the LCD, so you'll know which speaker you're talking about. But you can also flash all your LEDs. If you got a 9 system or a 9 speaker system going and you don't remember which one you set up, you can flash all the LEDs of that speaker to be able to see which speaker it is. Certainly, last but not least, you have the ability to easily mute channels or entire speakers. Your parametric output EQ has touchscreen access, which makes it a lot more easy to use than navigating through a menu system. And then you have full access to any of your other effects parameters, gates, compressors, ducking, limiter, things like that on applicable speaker models. So really just a very powerful experience here. You can see here on the right, this is an actual live application of the live screenshot of the application with 5 speakers connected. You can see we have signal detection and mute. This tells you how strong your Bluetooth signal is. You can save the entire speaker, you can rename it. So really just a powerful application to control and build out systems with Pro Connect. And then last but not least, you could see some other things here. There's a high level look at your parametric output EQ. You can also see some AFS screens and kind of what your overall screens will look like as you navigate through. So really just a powerful application, something that we're going to continue to do work to over time. And it really helps us be able to push out features and keep our products modern over their life cycle so that people don't buy a speaker that is outdated, by the time they get it home and open it up. So with that said, I want to check and see if there are any questions because we've reached the end of our presentation. So if you do have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat, or you can unmute and ask them, on the microphone, whatever your opinion, whatever your preference may be. So first question coming in, since product has points for rigging, in an installation where the boxes are very high near a ceiling, for example, and we don't have access to the power button, can they be turned on with a remote electrical switch or an automatic breaker that is at floor level? These can be turned on however you would want them to be. They have last known power state. So before you rig them up, just plug them in and turn them on. And then as you begin to rig them up and hang them, once they receive power again, however that may be, maybe it's from a breaker, maybe it's from a power conditioner switch, whatever it may be, once they receive power again, they will boot right back up into the state they were in when you had them on the ground. SPL, all of these products are going to have different SPLs. You can your peak SPL on 8 inch is going to be about 128 dB. Your peak SPL on your 12 is going to be about 131 and 132 on your 15. And your subwoofers are varying degrees, I think 132 and 136. Those are all on the spec sheets. All the spec sheets are in the Harman Wyden Collective, AKA the DAM, AKA the Marketing Asset Warehouse. So you can feel free to look up those specification sheets if you would like. So we got mentioned lossless A to D and D to A. Are you using some sort of compression scheme? I can't speak to that specifically, Tom. We can connect after here to talk through exactly the specific designs on that. Availability, these will have select availability at launch. These have already gone into mass production, so they're already being produced in 2 factories. So ideally, we do have some degree of availability at launch, but really the bulk of the product is going to be hitting around mid to late November in most markets. So come January, we should be able to readily fulfill any orders off the shelf. We shouldn't have any downtime in that regard. Is there a specific design or PRX category reason for not having Bluetooth audio? There's actually 2 reasons. One, Bluetooth audio at this level of performance really begins to be a cumbersome experience, right? Some of the chipsets that we have don't like turning up to 130 dB for Bluetooth audio. And in addition to that, Bluetooth audio in itself compresses our audio stream. And really at that point in time, you're only as good as what you're putting in. And so the main focus here was to provide as best of an audio experience as we can. And since there are multiple ways to kind of address the performance aspect from a Bluetooth audio perspective, it was a feature that we opted to leave out of this product category. There are a lot of questions coming in, so bear with me here. I'll try to get to all of them here. Why will we have EK and NA versions if the PRX900 is PFC? Great question, because of power cables. All right, nobody wants to put in their own power cables, so the only variation between an EK SKU and an NA SKU is going to be the NA SKU will come with a traditional 3-prong IEC cable, and the EK SKU will come with a 2 power cord solution for Europe and UK. So those are the differences between your SKUs. What about the plugs in wedge mode? I'm happy to report that we have amply tested these and they do not interfere with the mixer panel while in wedge mode at all. So no issue there. What with the talc in composite? Hold on, I scrolled. Is there any concern about surface scratches being a different color than the cabinet finish? Not necessarily. I mean, you can most certainly gouge these with like a knife and get into the plastic, but just most surface scratches, because of the durability and the texturing that we're putting on, you can actually wipe off with just water or a mildly abrasive solution like Ajax or Comet. But you really don't need to worry about the concern about surface scratches unless you deliberately take a knife to these and really gouge them deep.
Yeah, and hey, Brandon, just to add one thing to that, typically that's from recycled plastics, that issue. So we are not using highly recycled plastics that usually do have that issue with the white scratching.
Yeah, correct. We dye the plastic. It's fresh plastic that we dye and then put the composite mixture into. So these are not painted boxes. They're dyed boxes, if you will. Which country of manufacture? Both of these, or all of these products will be manufactured in both our Dandong factory and our Tijuana factory. So they're dual manufacturer source. Are we going to have connectors in the front of the sub for cardioid mode? No, but they do function in cardioid fashion. So, we don't have the plugs necessarily there, but you can use them pretty easily to wire them around. And if you're using them in cardioid, you can also stack them or set them side by side. They're spec to use both. Are the woofers differential drive? No, they are not differential drive. They are an entirely different design altogether. So they are not differential drive. Are you using FIR filtering? We are using FIR filtering on the system box tuning. So the answer to your question is yes. And I know I've been talking a little fast here, but I appreciate all the questions. If there are any others, we are starting to hit a slow point in the Q&A section. So if you have any other questions, feel free to ping them in chat. I'll give it about another minute or two of no questions before we end this call here. Well, I am not seeing anything else come in. So with that said, I'm going to assume that we're good on questions. Now, if you do have some questions that come up after the fact, maybe you didn't want to speak up here or you just can't remember. My name is Brandon Knutson. You can find me in the Harman System email, and you can feel free to reach out with any questions that you may have. And with that, I will bid you all adieu. Everybody, have a good day. I'm very excited about this launch, and I hope you guys are too. Please let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns, and have a good day or night, wherever you may be.
Thanks, everybody.
Brandon. And a reminder to everyone that the recording will be sent out as soon as it's available. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.